It's now time for What's Up Asheville, sponsored by the City of Asheville, with the host, Mr. Sam Parada, and here he is.
Good afternoon, Asheville, and welcome back to What's Up Asheville here at WRES Radio 100.7 FM. I'm your host, Sam Parada, and today we have a dual show with City and County. Usually, this show is only about city government employees, but the topic of today is relevant for both city and county. So with me, we have Eric Jackson, program manager for the finance department at the city, and Nicholas Bolet, court navigator with the county. How are you guys?
Good.
Doing good.
It's great to be here.
So, in this show, I like to start with a little get to know each other. So why don't you tell me who you are, how long you've been in your position, and what exactly it is that you do?
What exactly do I do? That's a really good question, and I don't think anybody at the city has ever managed to figure that out, including me. So I currently manage the performance and data program out of the budget and performance team at the city. I've been with the city and doing things around that for the last 7.5 years.
And I actually just took the reins for this role as court navigator quite recently at the end of September. So even still, I've been able to get a really good idea of a handle. And in terms of what I do, I essentially operate the information kiosk in the courthouse lobby. And through there, I offer community resources that are broader within the Asheville and Buncombe County area, and then also within the courthouse itself as well.
So anyone that walks into the courthouse, they see you first and foremost.
Exactly. So right after security, you have a non-law enforcement officer kind of figure that you can go to for questions.
Cool.
And I should probably point out, like, why am I here talking about court reminder systems and court navigation? For the last, I guess, going on 3.5 or so years, I've been the city's liaison to the community engagement work group for the Buncombe County Safety and Justice Challenge, and we'll get into what that is.
Yeah, I was going to say, we brought you here to talk about not really a project that the city is working on, as we usually do on the show, but more of a, what do you call this?
Promotion?
Yeah, but it's more like this initiative
Right.
to help better navigate the justice system in Asheville.
So, kind of broad context, there's something called the Buncombe County Safety and Justice Challenge, and it's an intergovernmental initiative. It involves the city, the county, the sheriff's department, the police department, and justice services with the county. And the goal, it started in 2018 with a grant from the MacArthur Foundation and has been going ever since. And the goal really is to try and reduce the jail population, particularly the pretrial jail population, people who have not been convicted of anything. And to do that by trying to address kind of the main drivers that are leading people to end up in jail. And that's kind of what, there are a lot of different efforts around that, and we're kind of taking a couple of the issues that are related to that we're working on.
Can you go over some of this, I guess, disparities in arrests?
Yeah, so one of the things that happened during the pandemic, we actually, because we had some extra motivation to reduce the number of people in congregate living, which is what the jail is, that was an opportunity to kind of relook at some of the policies. And again, just emphasizing, these are not folks who have been sentenced. These are folks who are waiting for trial. And we were able to kind of pretty significantly get past the original targets for reducing the kind of number of people in jail on any given day. One of the negative things that happened as a result of that, though, is we already had disparities between black folks and white folks, and those disparities actually increased as a result of kind of releasing people. And one of the things we did was, so we started to look at what was really driving both what's bringing people into jail and what's driving those disparities. And the key drivers were twofold. One, that is not kind of what Nick and I do, is violent crime. And so there are some efforts that are going on through this challenge, as well as, in the police and sheriff department, to deal with disrupting violent crime. But the other, excuse me, the other major driver is people who don't show up for court and then get an order for their arrest issued. And it's not only is that kind of a key driver, but also it's one of the major drivers of the disparities, because we're seeing a four times more higher proportion of black defendants are getting hit with these failure to appear arrests.
Right, and I mean, I feel like it's such a complicated system to work with. I mean, I have been issued a notice to go to do my jury duty, and it was not easy to know what exactly I had to do or where I had to go. I ended up not having to do it because that day I showed up and there was a sign saying, if you have jury duty today, just go home. So I'm like, okay, great. I could have known that beforehand. But I would imagine, the stress of having to go to the courthouse, to go to court and just, I don't know, for whatever reason you're there, on top of not the easiest way to get communication or information, I assume, are definitely big factors that I can see happening to just anyone.
Right.
But this is when you come in, right?
Exactly. So if I could chime in, the idea is people are missing these court dates for, if they do know they're missing them and they're missing them intentionally, it's for very valid reasons, like you can't call off of work, childcare, all these different things. So my role as a court navigator is to provide those resources so that you have less reasons not to show up. Now, the other subset of that group is people who don't even know that they've missed their court date, because like you said, the communication can be interrupted, or the message cannot be received. So then what happens? Maybe one day you get pulled over and then you find out that you have an order for arrest. So these FTAs, failures to appear, can so easily lead to an order for arrest of people like what Eric was mentioning, who were just waiting. And so this court reminder system has been designed to make it very, very easy and accessible for anybody to sign up with their last name if they're the defendant, and then their phone number, and they get these free automated text messages. And I think the way Eric and his colleagues have designed it has been very, very efficient and effective. It gets updated on a weekly basis, so that then if there's any new case numbers associated with your case or any new charges, those populate, and you can still get reminders about that. And it's really nice because you'll get a reminder about a week in advance and then about a few days in advance.
Okay.
So you can prepare accordingly.
And so how does one go to sign up for this?
Yeah, what's really awesome is we have a website, and so it's run by Code with Asheville, and in the actual courthouse we also have billboards, and on those, or not billboards, but banners. On those banners you have QR codes,
okay.
And then you can very easily scan the QR code. Another really big initiative that we've been driving is these court reminder cards that also have the QR code. So individuals can also scan that same QR code just on a different kind of medium.
Right.
And if you're in a rush and you can't scan it in the moment, I give you the QR code in the card form, and you can scan it at your own discretion whenever you can.
And of course, you can just go to the website, which is I'm having trouble saying it, buncombenc.courtdates.org. Designed to be very easy. You can sign yourself up if you're actually the one who's kind of caught up in the system, but you can also sign up on behalf of a family member or somebody else.
I was going to say,
yeah.
If you don't have a phone that has a QR scanner, or for whatever reason you can't do it on the go, or technology is just no strong suit, go to someone else and go to Buncombe and see that courtdates.org. Okay.
Excellent.
Small mouthful, but if it helps you, and then show up and go see Nico in the courthouse, and he'll walk you through and help you get your messages sent to you.
And very gladly, I think another big component of my job is being bilingual. So being able to meet a growing population of Latinx individuals in the community, and like Eric was mentioning, people are stressed out when they're coming. no one's ever coming to the courthouse for sunshine and rainbows. So when you're going and you're in this stressed mindset, to just see this little bit of a little beacon of an information kiosk that you can just go to with all your questions.
Right. And just listen to his voice too. It's very calm, very soothing.
And kind of to the language point, from the very beginning, the system, the court reminder system, has been up since I believe November of 2022.
So we're coming to a year.
Well over a year now. And a couple of is that 22 or 21? Anyway, I can't remember. It's been a while. But one of the major changes that we made in January of this year is that if you're booked into jail, you're offered the opportunity to say yes to have the county sign you up when you're released. And so that kind of led to a major jump. Right now we probably have about 1,500 people who are currently signed up and getting messages. The other thing I wanted to point out is from the beginning we've been up in the 3 major languages in Asheville and Buncombe County, so you can get it in English, Spanish, or Russian. And the text messages will come in those 3 languages as well.
That's cool. Well, that's a lot of information, but I think this is such an important pillar for any society right now. And you've been helping since 2018. That's a long time. So I'm wondering just, what changes have happened since 2018 and how has this evolved? And I guess as follow-up is, where do you see this continuing, the efforts?
So it's a lot of questions.
I know it's a lot.
Probably bigger than I'm qualified to answer. Excuse me. So part of what's cool about the Safety and Justice Challenge is that it really is an effort, a collaborative effort. We're really lucky in Buncombe County to have the district attorney's office, the public defender's office, the judges, the county, the city, all kind of collaborating, because I think we all see that there are things happening that are they're not serving the purpose. This isn't about people who've been convicted of something serving their time. This is about trying to reduce the barriers to being able to successfully get through the system and get out. And so there are a number of things that go on. For example, there's a case processing group that meets every week, goes through everybody who's been in for longer than seems reasonable given the charges. And very often, if you're talking about the people who are cycling through the justice system on a daily basis, they're rarely people who are, kind of at the best point in their lives. We have a lot of people who are dealing with economic issues, addiction issues, mental health issues. And so a lot of it is going through and trying to get people hooked up with services that can help them kind of break that cycle that they've gotten in with the system. So that's one thing. One of the things that I've kind of had fun supporting, my wife is in the public defender's office, and I think it's been a year and a half, maybe 2 years now, that they started a first appearance project. So most people don't know a lot about how the justice system works. If you get arrested and are booked into the jail, you go up before a magistrate who may just kind of let you go with a written promise to appear. But if he or she does not give you that and they actually book you into a jail, then the next business day you get a first appearance before a judge where they read you your charges and ask you if you want a lawyer. And one of the things that used to happen is people would show up, they would get processed, and a certain number of them would be assigned a public defendant. But that information wouldn't get to the public defender's office in time to get them on the calendar for a bond hearing the next day. And so there was a whole extra day, and we have a lot of evidence that says that every day in jail actually leads to worse outcomes for people who are caught up in that system. And so what we're now doing, and I've kind of been helping by getting some of the data from the jail website and getting it to the public defender's office is now the public defender shows up during first appearances, captures what's going on, gets the word over to the public defender's office so they can be assigned and get onto the bond calendar by the next day, cutting an entire day off.
And this is all you doing this. It's part of the process, but this is like, it's not like your job per se. It's just something that the challenge is doing. That's
a small thing that I do to contribute some data. The court reminder system is a bigger deal, and part of what's exciting is that this has really been a collaboration between county, the court system, the city, and the community, because Code with Asheville is just a bunch of tech volunteers. They're the ones who wrote the system and maintain it. But then that would have been irrelevant if the county hadn't really stepped up and the court system hadn't really stepped up to make sure that it's being promoted, things like this show.
The banners.
There's banners, there were billboards out in September, there are radio spots, and also just the fact that the Sheriff's Department has set it up so that people can sign up when they're booked.
So that brings me to a question about, as a community member, what can you do to either help yourself or help others, really? But what responsibilities fall on me as a community member?
I think we want to make it clear that the burden's kind of already big enough for community members, so we kind of want to take that. But in terms of outreach, sharing the website, in terms of the court reminders, and letting people know that, for example, me as the court navigator, I am a safe person you can go to in whatever context you might be in, absolutely safe. And I can work with you in whatever your situation is. I'm not somebody who will threaten you or will report you in any kind of way, unless obviously extreme cases. But we're definitely a safe space. And then the other thing is to chime in really quickly in terms of data privacy for the court reminder system. Some people are concerned that they don't want to give their phone number and their last name to this kind of entity. And we very clearly wait and see about 30 days to make sure that you have no other cases on file. Once you have no other cases and it's confirmed, that information is completely deleted. So you can rest assured that me as an entity am safe to share your information with, and the court reminder system itself is also safe.
Right. I mean, I feel like walking into a courthouse and having to give my information about either a crime or whatever, really, that can be terrifying.
It is. It's a very confusing place. In fact, one of the projects we've begun now is just to get better signs.
Super important.
Super important. I get lost, and I supposedly have a lot to do with it.
It is a labyrinth.
I think there are a couple of things that are important. One is it's really easy to just kind of assume a story about why people might not show up for court. And the fact is, the vast majority of people do. Well over 90% of people in Buncombe County show up for court. The ones that don't, these are, with a very small number of exceptions, these are not people fleeing justice. These are people who have forgotten, who are forced to make a choice between taking care of a loved one, a job, and coming to court, and making the wrong decision, but it's not a trivial decision by any stretch. So I think educating yourself as to what really is going on, that I don't know if anybody's been to the dentist recently, but whenever I have an appointment, I am inundated with reminders from the dentist about not forgetting my appointment, which tells me that this is not a problem that is limited to the criminal justice system.
Right.
The big difference is the dentist is unable to order my arrest if I don't show up. Exactly. They can send me a nastygram, but that's all. Whereas the consequence here is big. And so I think letting folks know, if you know anybody who even if it's not as simple as a ticket, a really easy way to get yourself caught up in the system is ignore a ticket. Don't show up for the admin date, don't pay it, and then all of a sudden you're going to be kind of charged with a failure to appear, or your non-appearance is going to be noted, and you'll get an order for arrest, and then all of a sudden you're into the joys of that whole system. So I think that's one. And making sure that you pass on to folks that you know who are caught up that this is available, and that there are folks who are really working to support you through that process, because all of us, the interest is for people to get through that system, get back on track, and be able to contribute to our community again.
Function in their normal lives.
Yep.
Exactly.
Thank you, and honestly, thank you just in general for being part of this challenge. Is there anything else that you two particularly do to on this topic, or because I know you mentioned the challenge does a lot more?
So, not directly involved with this, but there, I had mentioned that one of the drivers was violent crime, and one of the things that we did a couple years ago in trying to address that's not really for somebody like me to do anything about. And so we took some of the money that was available through the MacArthur Foundation grant and put it out in the community with community-based organizations that are doing a number of things. And you can, if you just look for Buncombe Safety and Justice Challenge, do a web search, you'll find out some stuff about that.
I was just going to ask you, where can I find more information on everything else that takes place? Safety
and Justice Challenge, Buncombe County, it's on the county website. The other thing, and Nick and I both participate in fact, I am the liaison for the city to the community engagement work group. There are a number of work groups around equity and case processing and so on.
And the work group is associated with the Safety Justice Challenge specifically.
And our whole role is to think about how we communicate with, we think in terms of three audiences: people who are caught up in the system now, and that's signs, the court navigator, the court reminder system, and so on. But we're beginning to expand out to people who are at risk. So that might be youth, it might be people who are re-entering and kind of struggling with that. And so working through community partners to try and get information about resources available, consequences, and so on. And the one that I'm really kind of excited about that we haven't done as much is the general public. I think most of us, if something happens, police show up, carry somebody off, or we get it reported, and then we kind of forget what happens after that. And there's a long process, very often that goes on. It can go on for months or even multiple years before anybody is actually convicted. And I think understanding a little bit more about how that system works and where we as a community can contribute to actually improving. The goal is not to just fix the system. The goal is to kind of build our ability in the community to help people avoid getting caught up in that system. And so we're beginning to explore ways to do a better job of telling some of that story.
Yeah, I think it's important to really meet the needs of our communities, and to really do that, we have to be able to give them a space where we can listen to that, let them know that they are able to speak freely. And then to that point, if there's anybody out there listening who is a parent or is a loved one or has a loved one who all of a sudden finds out they do have a failure to appear, do not worry. You can definitely come to the courthouse, and we can literally help you at whatever stage in this process that you're at. You don't have to necessarily be so scared and terrified and think all these bad things will happen to you. No, there is a window, and even within that window of time that we can reset that court date within the courthouse, we still have other resources to offer you with help. And that includes the Justice Resource Center that is located on the 14th floor of the courthouse.
And that's very good to know. I mean, I was in a car crash many years ago, I was not at fault, but I damaged the county's property, so I had to appear to court. And that was my first time ever going, and I had no idea what I was doing. So it would have been really nice to have a Nick at the entrance to tell me.
Yeah.
I had to drive 3 hours to this place. I showed up. The police officer wasn't there. My charges were dropped immediately. And I feel like that could have been a letter or maybe, you know.
And I mean, that's the thing. People, when they're coming to the courthouse, you already have so much on your mind. The last thing you're worrying about is parking and like all these little things. So then when you actually get there, there's already so much baggage going on. So we're really just trying to lighten that load as much as we can.
So just getting rid of those stressors, or as many as possible.
And getting rid of those barriers, as many barriers as we can.
So I guess my final question, we've talked about the Safety and Justice Challenge a lot, but I want to try to envision what exactly this looks like. Is this a group of people who meet often? Is this something that is open to the public so they can listen to? Or this is something that's happening more behind the scenes?
Yes.
Yes.
All of the above.
So there's several pieces to that. There is something called the Justice Resource Advisory Council, the JRAC, and that is kind of the leaders of the various agencies. So you'll see the Chief Public Defender, the District Attorney, from the city, I believe both Police Chief David Zack and City Manager Deborah Campbell are members, as well as counterparts from the county. So, and those meetings are public, so you can certainly show up and find out what's going on there.
Do you know usually when they happen?
I don't, but if you go to the county website, I'm sure it's up there.
Okay.
A lot of this is happening behind the scenes, meeting various court actors, the DA and the public defender and the jail folks and so on, meeting and doing case processing. That's kind of all behind the scenes. I do want to put a plug in for the community engagement work group. We have a number of people from city and county and DA and so on, but the strength of that group is that it is connected to the community, and so we were always looking for people who care about these issues, who would be willing to, spend a few hours a month serving on the community engagement work group. We've got a number of kind of subcommittees. I co-lead the communications one, but there are a number of others, and there are real opportunities to contribute.
I love that. Before we are running short on time, but before we go, if you could remind me the name of the
website?
Not the website, the group that meets for the listeners.
Oh, the Community Engagement Work Group of the Buncombe County Safety and Justice Challenge.
That's perfect.
And do we have contact information that? Because you
can actually contact me.
That's good.
So you can contact me via my email at nicholas.bolet@buncombecounty.org with any inquiries, and that is nicholas.bolet, B as in boy, OLET, at buncombecounty.org.
And I also just want to once again say the URL of the court reminder system. And you have to be a little careful. There's a state system that is way harder to use, and you don't want to end up there. It's buncombenc.courtdates.org.
Thank you very much. And I'm really hoping that this information will help many people out there, and as I'm sure it's already doing. Well, thank you so much for being here, Eric and Nick. It's been a pleasure talking with you. We've run out of time, so we'll see you next time here on WRES What's Up Asheville. Thank you for listening. And
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much, Sam.
You've been listening to What's Up Asheville, sponsored by the City of Asheville in collaboration with WRES 100.7 FM. This program will re-air every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12:30.